It's day 25 of 100 days of making comics. This leaf is in my shot. What a... Hey, it's day 25. Yes. Yes, it's day 25, and I just did my 30 minutes, a hair over maybe, as I've been saying often, more than 30, less than an hour. I did my Twitch stream, my Twitch request live tonight, which I'll have a video of that up on YouTube before this. I missed last week, did it this week, so I did the longer. I did like 2.5 hours to try to fill it, and I still only got like 5 things done. One of which, though, I might turn into a print, so that's good. I'll throw a couple of those up here now just so you can see what I did if you don't want to watch the whole video. So... There's that. Okay, so I was looking at page 1, working on the pencils again, which I had started, well, not started, but I was working on yesterday, working on again today. Let me show you. Today I had sort of finished this one and started this one. So today I finished this one. I had the TV in that, and I put the figure of the kid. I found a reference of the kid sitting the way I wanted it to, and then I populated with this weird statue that used to be in my house and some other stuff. And when I looked at this and this and this, these all looked a lot more finished than this one, and I realized this needed another pass. So I did, as I found a good reference for the kid sitting, I was like, oh, well, let me look at the classroom. Let me find a classroom to see what kind of desks they have and stuff. Because it just more or less worked, but I could tell that when I would go into ink it, it was going to get fuzzy, where some of the details I wasn't 100% clear on, and I'd be figuring it out later, which I don't like to do. I want to just be focused on doing clean lines and blacks and things like that. That's something I've learned about myself, is when I do really rough pencils and then I go straight to inks, it's way, way, way harder than just doing another pass to get the pencils kind of, you know, and it's all digital, but still pencils, whatever you want to call it, semi-finished, roughs, whatever. So I looked online, and I had a particular school in mind, which is a school I went to when I was a kid in New Jersey, in River Plaza. And I was like, I wonder if I could find some like vintage pictures from that school. And I only searched for a few minutes, and I didn't find anything old, but the school still exists. It's still open. And so I just looked up River Plaza classroom photos, and I found some people that had posted some events, some parents had gone there, whatever. So I'm not showing you because it has other people's kids in it, and that could get weird, you know, even though it's on the internet, whatever. But I found some where it's literally kids sitting in desks, and while it's modern, it doesn't look that different from what I remember. It's not like they all got computers or something, or just sitting at stupid desks with like I guess the main difference is it's a whiteboard instead of a blackboard, but, so I found some pictures, and I'm making little adjustments, and it probably won't look that different from what it is now, but I'll feel more confident about it moving into the next phase. So what I did was I finished the one panel, did some research, started finishing the other panel, which was already, I thought was done. But that's my day today, day 25. 1/4 of the way through, and more than 1/4 of the way through the work. So I feel good. I feel like I'm making a good pace. All right, thanks. It's the 26th. It's Saturday. I have a cat mitten muffin, oven mitt on my hand. I just made baked ziti for the first time ever, so we'll see how that goes. I don't think it'll be terrible. I don't know if it'll be great, but it won't be terrible. And while that's cooling and the garlic bread Texas toast is cooling, I was going to talk to you people because I haven't done my 30 minutes yet. I will. I did a art practice sketch of a car, and I did some more client work. I finished up that Back to the Future picture. I got one more to go in that series. Did a bunch of work email type stuff. I might have another, not a commission, a commission is what I call like a individual person who's like, hey, I want you to draw Godzilla, or let me see your version of Nightcrawler. Then client work is more customers that come back to me again and again that work for companies or have a game they're developing or something like that. That's kind of the distinction I made. I think most people make that sort of distinction. But so I have some potential client work coming up. And I'm going to open up my commissions because I had them closed for a while, February. So I'm trying to clear out my client work so I could be more open for commissions and not lose sight of getting my comic stuff done, my personal comic stuff done. Although I'll keep doing 30 minutes no matter what, because that's the challenge. And I'll be hitting that later. But I just wanted to check in while I was waiting for seeing if I could smell it. It looks like I'm waving farts in my face, but I'm not. I don't smell anything, actually. Nothing. Still day 26, and I've done my 30 minutes. It is 3:26 a.m. I thought it was going to be like 2. I started after 2. I did about an hour today. This is what I was talking about before, my art practice. I did a car. I've never been very good at cars. I've often resorted to, if I had to do a client job with a car in it, I've traced you know, at least partially, just to get it done and meet the deadline and make it look decent. This was not traced. This was drawn from a reference of a VW Beetle. I chose a Beetle and made it yellow because then it's kind of Bumblebee-ish, and I like Transformers, so even though I hate drawing cars and I'm not very good at it, by tying it to something I do enjoy, it made it a little bit more tolerable, and I also think the colors save it a lot. If I turn the colors off, you can see a lot more of the flaws in the actual drawing. And don't get me wrong, this is better than I've done before, and it came out okay, but, you know, this took me a while, like over an hour to do, so I definitely still don't like drawing cars. And this is what I worked on today. I had worked on this panel quite a bit already, but I fiddled with the perspective a bit, repopulated it some more based on the reference pictures I found, cleaned myself up as a kid, and this is a teacher I had in 3rd grade in New Jersey named Mrs. Kessler. She was older even then, and I was trying to find a picture of her online in this age where seemingly everything and everyone could be found online, at least a photo or a reference, but this was so long ago that, you know, she may have retired or died before we kind of hit the point where everything was being digitized. Nevertheless, I found pictures of older women from around that time period and tried to base it on that. I have like a vague idea of what she looked like in my head, but I was like, well, I'll just sort of go with this. Anyway, the point is, got that panel done up, ready, pencils are done, ready to go to ink, so that's most of this page. I just have the 2 top panels, which are going to take some work to make that environment fit. I'm doing a lot of environments that are time and space sensitive, but in a way that will matter more to me than anyone else. Because the other one is a bedroom I had when I lived in Asbury Park, New Jersey, and no one knows what that looks like but me. I mean, I have to get the time period stuff right where I don't want like an iPhone sitting there, but other than that, it won't matter. But for me, I'd like to get it as close to what it actually was as possible. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. It's just a layer of difficulty I've given myself. So that's done today, about an hour, so good. Today is day 26. Let's head to tomorrow, Sunday, for day 27.
A new hand relaxing station to help me with my drawing. All right, just insert and goosh, goosh, goosh. All better.
It's day 27. I'm in the mall. There's some brass children that have brass kites. They were difficult to see. I'm in Target, and they have an excellent selection of games.
Think about a grandmother losing her teeth, and you can pretend to be a frog. How nice. And, oh, you squeeze pimples? And don't step in dog poop. And the farting monkey game. Yes, yes.
A long way since checkers, Monopoly, and Fireball Island. Pimple Popper, the game. So, day 27, yes. It's about 1:30 in the morning. And I did my time. I did a bit over 30 minutes. The usual thing I say a lot is more than 30, less than an hour. And that usually happens because I'm tired, I'm not in the mood, I don't feel like doing it, but I gotta put my 30 minutes in. And then I have trouble getting something, and I'm trying to work through it, so I go a little over, or I get into it and I wanna go a little over, but it's still like late at night, or I have other things to do, so I can't really go too far over. And that's why I often go over 30, but under an hour, because if I start getting close to an hour, I'm like, I better stop. I'll show you what I have. It's not much. I'm still working on the pencils, the digital pencils for page 1. I have the first 2 panels, which is funny because I knew there'd be a little bit of work, but I didn't think they'd be as difficult as some of the other panels on this page, and they're turning out to be the hardest. They're the same location. This one just zooms in a little bit and the kid sits up. So once I have it nailed down here, it'll be easier here. I might even just copy and paste and zoom it out, depending on if I feel like changing the angle or not. But it's based on a room I had in an apartment in Asbury, New Jersey. And like with the classroom, I tried to look up reference, could not find any. But in my memory, it was a long room, and my bed was here, and I had a desk table here, and then it was sort of like empty because I just didn't have a lot of stuff as a kid. And the perspective is weird. Like, the perspective minus this is correct. This is sort of faked. But I wanted to show this desk where I had a TV, and I didn't reference the TV at all. That's just a placeholder. I mean, most of this is placeholder, but I want it to be next to the bed, and then the wall's there, but I realized then it's covering me up. So I'm trying to sort of fake and cheat it so the bed's a little bit away from the wall, but it's not working. So I may end up having to cut this out. It's a difference. I'm balancing several things. One thing is the perspective right? Does it look correct and believable? That's probably the most important thing. Whether or not it's correct, as long as it looks believable, even if it's like incorrect but nobody notices, I'm fine with that. 2, is it good composition for the flow of the story? Now, there's a lot of negative space that's going to be filled with lettering boxes, and like I said, there wasn't much there. Anyway, which leads us into 3. It's based on a real time and place, which again, nobody has seen but me, well, other than my family. And even in my family, there's probably only my mom would be the only person that would even remember this room. And so I have a very specific image of what I want it to look like based on that. And now it's the compromise of what is correct perspective, what makes a good composition for storytelling, and what represents the real life location. And I think that's what I'm having trouble with, balancing those 3. So I worked on it. You can see I did some work on it. It's not there yet. I'm probably going to be fighting with it again tomorrow. But I did my work, and day 27 is done. So on to day 28. That's tomorrow. See you then.
It's day 28.
And no, that is not work on my comic, either the Horror Wave 4 or the Werewolf story. That is a Power Ranger / Super Sentai character from Go Busters, which is a season in Japan, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, that will be the new Power Ranger season coming up. I did it as my sort of warm-up sketch, letting myself draw something for fun, but as I worked on it, I was going to spend a half hour or so, but I'm like, well, I want to share it, so let me put some color. Well, if I'm going to color it, I got to clean it up a little bit more. I ended up spending over an hour, maybe close to an hour and a half, which is terrible because if it was a quick warm-up sketch for a half hour, I could throw it up and kind of be like, oh, there's something loose and rough and whatever, and I did my warm-up sketch. But what I did was I put enough time into it that, and I did share it around, you know, but I put enough time into it that it ate up a chunk of my day, my art day, but it's not quite print ready. I mean, I have done prints this level of quality and finish before when it's just a headshot, but I would want to go over another pass to clean up the lines and probably tighten up the color a little bit. So it's like, if I put another half hour in, it would be ready to be a print. But I didn't. So I put in more time than I should for something that was supposed to be just a fun sketch. But I almost made it a print, but I didn't make it a print. But I should, yeah. So I should have committed all the way or stopped sooner. But instead I have a thing that if I want to make a print, I'll have to go back to and adjust. Whatever, I did it, it's fine. But I did that. I haven't done my 30 minutes yet. I've been working more on the Back to the Future caricature stuff, which I'll show you.
Previously, Marty and Doc in the DeLorean, then I did individual shots of them in their future outfits. Now I'm doing the 2 of them standing together in a more neutral pose. You can see I did the Marty here. I was referencing my other Marty for the color. I'm covering up the face so you can't see it.
And that's what's going on now. It's about 6:30. I'm almost, I guess I still have to do Doc, but I don't know if I'm going to do him today. I have a few days before it's 100% due. I had a client job, I think I vaguely mentioned to you guys, that fell through because I quoted them a price and then it went away. And I don't think it was that I quoted them too high because I didn't want to negotiate or anything like that. They said that they lost some client of theirs. So I guess whatever budget they thought they had went away. So whatever, that's gone. And that's fine. And I'm opening up commissions in a few days. I might even make an announcement sooner and say like, hey, because I've had 3 or 4 people that contacted me interested with projects I'd like to do, commission stuff. So I don't know. It's one of those things where I only have a certain amount of time and spaces that I could take these commissions, and I'd rather take the ones that I would find more enjoyable. You know what I mean? All things being equal, like I'll work for whoever, but you know, nothing against My Little Pony, but I'd rather draw, you know, a Ninja Turtle, and nothing against, you know, Spider-Man, who I like, you know, but I'd rather draw Godzilla, you know, stuff like that. And again, that doesn't mean I won't do My Little Pony or Spider-Man if that's what you want, and I'll do my best. But if I only have room for, you know, my schedule for 5 people, I'd rather get the 5 people that do the stuff, that request the stuff that's more in my wheelhouse of things that I enjoy and the brand I'd like to promote for myself. But whatever, that's neither here nor there. I still gotta do my 30 minutes. I just wanted to check in, I don't know, before, later, because I wanted to. Yeah, because, yeah. All right, it's almost midnight, and so I suppose I should do my 30 minutes. As I've talked about before, when I'm not sure what to do is when I have the hardest time doing it. I'm not afraid of hard work. I'm not afraid of tedium. I'm not afraid of long hours. I'm not afraid of concept either. And this is what somebody was talking, who was talking? Was it Scott? Somebody who's doing the challenge right now was saying, oh, I'm excited to get to the next phase because it's penciling and that's where the real fun starts or something like that. And penciling is my least favorite part. Writing is difficult but enjoyable because like it's less objective. I mean, there's a story structure you have to follow so people can understand it. But sometimes when I make choices, it may or may not be the right choice, quote unquote, but as long as it makes sense, that's kind of good enough, you know, for the objective part of it. A lot more of it's subjective. But drawings, you could look at it and be like, that's wrong, that looks weird, I don't understand what's going on. You know, it's a lot easier for the layperson to like make a quick snap judgment. And so writing, and I also don't pride myself in my writing as much as my art. So if it's not as perfect, I'm more okay with it. So while it might be a little difficult or take me a while, I don't stress over it. Taking what I've written and doing the rough layouts and breakdowns is probably the most fun part, because it's all conceptual and just, oh, and then this will happen, and I have a cool image in mind or whatever, and I'm not worrying about fitting the lettering in, I'm not worrying about, you know, the perspective, I'm not worrying perfectly how the story flows, just getting cool imagery down. Then once I start taking that and cleaning it up so the lettering will fit and making sure the anatomy's right, the perspective's right and stuff, that's the worst part for me. Once I have that done and I go in and I'm just doing the cleanups, digital inks, colors, that kind of stuff, it's not super fun, but I can sort of zone out. I could be on a hangout and talk. I could listen to podcasts, or I could do whatever and not have to think about it too much. So it might be hours, but it's not a lot of mental energy. So it sort of starts off being mentally stimulating and fun. Then it becomes like a math problem I have to solve that's not fun. And then it becomes like a mildly enjoyable, I can kind of forget what I'm doing until it's finished. And then when it's finished, I once again am able to have fun because I can show people the finished product. Anyway, the point is, this panel I'm working on, I'm right in the middle of the phase I like least, and I'm having the problem of making it look right, for lack of a better term. So anyway, that's what I'm gonna try to tackle now. Yeah.
Hey. It's day 29. I woke up, I'm tired, I'm feeding the cats. I look white. It's just not my skin. What? No, I don't remember. Oh, you little jerk. I don't remember if yesterday the cats are meowing like crazies. You'd think I never fed them, but I promise you I fed them. I fed them like 11 hours ago. No, less than like 10 hours ago. Anyway, while the cats are distracting me with their screaming, I can't remember if I finished my film yesterday after I did my work. This is in case I didn't. I will throw up a little thing of what I did right here. And that was basically me once again working on that panel, not getting much progress, feeling a little frustrated, but putting the work in nonetheless. What's that you hear? Nothing. Silence. Well, maybe the clinking of collars on bowls because the cats have been fed or are being fed. And in a moment, I'll have to guard one of my cats because my other cat steals the food, but I have a few seconds in between. But yeah, so today I gotta finish up one more Back to the Future caricature. I mean, I have to have it done by the 31st, but my plan is to finish it today, which is the 29th, because it's day 29, and a few other things, but I want to put in more time on the comic today. And I think there's gonna be a hangout going on in a little while. I really just woke up. Sorry, I got sleep face and my eyes are all crusty still. Yeah, I guess I'll talk to you more about it later. Maybe I'll have a cup of decaf coffee. As advertised.
All right, day 29, feeling better. It is 7:23. I finished a piece of client work I had to get done, the last of that Back to the Future stuff, pending revisions, I'm done with that. And I did that while I was in a hangout, a non-televised, publicized hangout. The lighting is so dramatic. Hello. With Mr. Mike Emmerich and Peter Palmiotti and Creed Stonegate and a few other people, Pepper and Scotty-O Draw Bows. Anyway, it doesn't matter because you don't get to see it, but they were there. And I finished that up, and then towards the end I started working on my werewolf comic, panel 1 again, which has been giving me so much trouble. I didn't keep great track of time in there, and then I've worked on it outside of it another half hour to an hour. I spent over an hour. Usually I say it's 30 minutes to an hour. Today it's like at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half, hour 45, I don't know. But a shockingly little amount of work gotten done.
Especially compared to yesterday. I was just sort of cleaning a few things up here. I decided to put a shelving unit here, which I don't believe existed, but this goes back to what I was saying. It just seemed empty. I needed to fill it up. I did clean up some details to make them look more like posters and toys and things like that. Over here was pretty empty. I put a backpack on the floor. I tried to populate it with things that make sense without making the room actually that full. Redrew the desk, decided to cut out the chair, and I've been having trouble getting the television to look right. So other than getting the television to look right and maybe putting a toy on the desk, I do have this where it's done and I like it, and it'll make this next panel that much easier because I'm just gonna zoom into a closer piece. One thing worth pointing out is I'm holding a stuffed cat. And at this time, I had 3 main stuffed animals, a stuffed cat and a stuffed Pegasus, and you can barely see it, but a stuffed unicorn. Yeah.
I almost didn't include it. I originally was going to put them all in there, and then I thought it looked a little busy, so I was just going to do the cat. And then when I was wanting to fill it up again and, you know, make it look busy, I realized I could put that in. And after I put it in, I said, unicorn, werewolves and unicorns. It's a way to sneak a unicorn into the book. I didn't even think about it. It's just perfect. It's in there. It's not forced because it's a toy I had as a kid, and I was putting it in anyway. But it just, I don't know, it was one of those dumb things. But I was so happy afterwards. But I don't know what else I'm doing today. But as far as this, I am still a little tired. As far as this, it is 7:25 now, and I am done with my 20 minutes plus for today, day 29. Thank you. Hey, it's day 30. I was out here watering the plants. I'm getting a late start to the day, and I heard something like, and I'm like, oh, what is that? Something like from far away, a helicopter, and then it was like by my ear, and I was like, oh, is it like a bug in my ear? And I turned, right here, hummingbird, and I heard its little wings. It must have been like, hey, what's going on? What's going on? I'm like, hey, and it's like, oh, okay, bye, bye. I guess there are hummingbirds in New Jersey, but I lived in New Jersey and spent a lot of time in New York. I lived in Delaware briefly. I've been to Florida. I've been all places, those 4, that's all of them, and had never seen hummingbird in real life. And now that I live in California, I see them on a fairly regular basis, although not so common do they come and, you know, hum in my ear. So there's that. Look at that sky. It's still day 30. I mostly worked on a card for Kaiju Assault Game, which is a game that's existed for a few years. I found out about it at G-Fest. It used to be using Godzilla, Ultraman, Optimus Prime, whoever. It was sort of like every fandom mixed into one. But recently they've been commissioning artists to do more original art, I guess because maybe they want to expand into stores where they wouldn't allow them to use copyrighted stuff. I'm not sure exactly why. But it's a cool thing that I kind of wanted to be a part of, and so I'm working on a card for that. Not a lot of pay, but the good news is complete creative freedom. They told me what the monster is, and I could do whatever I want. No revisions, no roughs, nothing like that. I'm inking it so I could sell the original art, and I'm allowed to make prints of it as long as I put Kaiju Assault Card Game logo on it, which is fine. So I did the rough yesterday, and today I inked it while I hang out with Creed, Stonegate, infinitecoolness.com. And I need to get it scanned and do the color, but in the meantime I had to go do some shopping, had an Etsy sale, had to drop off at the post office, and I have yet to do my 30 minutes on the werewolf comic yet today. But I'm gonna check out this GameStop, which is not something I need to do, but they have toys and I wanna look. Great, I did do, I'm home obviously, I did my 30 minutes, it was closer to an hour today, and I did it while watching the Twitch stream that Airzuki does called Comic Chameleons, where they review comics, and it was about an hour, and I worked while I was watching it, so there you go. What did I do? Working on forever, I finally finished it. The main thing I did was populate this area here, and this TV is not in perfect perspective, but every time I tried to draw it in perspective, it looked terrible. So I went with what looks right as opposed to what is correct. Arguably, it could still be better, but I'm done. I then put in the lighting, which I shouldn't really do at this phase, but it's very atmospheric. I want to make sure it looks correct. Now, as long as this one took me, I then did this one. And basically, I copied and pasted everything here. Then I just redrew the kid and redrew the shadows and lighting. So this was so much quicker compared to that. And one thing, well, two little details. One, you can't even really see it here, but I had talked about how one of these stuffed animals is a unicorn that I didn't really think about. So when he sits up, now that I'm thinking about it, I have the unicorn falling down. Not a big deal, but sort of a victory of werewolf over unicorn. And the shadow here should look like a wolf as well, which is super obvious when I'm like that. But on a page with lettering and everything, I guess it's still pretty obvious, which is fine because I want people to see it. Yeah, and that's what I did today. I guess I could also show you this. This is the inks for the card I was talking about. And the card's gonna be much smaller, but you know, I drew it large. And there, see, that's the rough, the digital rough. Now, I didn't put it in the shading, but I don't know. I feel like it lost a little something. Once I color it, I'll probably put it back, but, you know, it's the constant curse. I think I and a lot of other artists have, I know Creed does because we were talking about it, that is just, you know, the sketch, the pencils have all this energy, and then you go to clean it up, and it needs to be cleaned up, it needs to be fixed, but when you do that, you lose something. And what I was saying is, you know, let's say every time I do it, I lose 20% of the energy, the quality, the fun, whatever that thing is. I can't figure out a way not to lose that 20%. But the better I get with the initial product, you know, if the drawing I do is better than the last drawing I did and I lose 20%, well, I'm starting from a higher point at least. And when I go in digitally and clean it up and get ready for color, I might make a few changes and maybe get back 5, 10, 15% and kind of get it closer to where I want it to be. Regardless, that's it for today, day 30. So we are not quite 33% of the way there. Like 30% of the way there, because it's 100. That's really easy. Whatever the day is, that's the percentage. Anyway, goodbye.